Texas football is up to number 1 in the AP poll after a dominant 56-7 victory over the UTSA Roadrunners right here at DKR, while Texas women's soccer has outscored their opponents 11-1 so far in the month of September and remain undefeated. Meanwhile, Texas Volleyball handed out some replicas of their championship rings on Wednesday as they took care of business against Houston, sweeping them 3-0. All this and more on College Press Box.
Good evening and welcome to the second episode of College Press Box of the fall 2024 semester. I'm Zach Davis, he's Jackson Vaerewyck. It's been a hectic weekend, but before we get started, I wanted to share with you that today's show is brought to you by Cat Metro, Austin's transit system. We connect you to work, school, play, and everywhere in between. Plan your ride to this weekend's game at catmetro.org.
Well, this past Saturday, Texas football welcomed the UTSA Roadrunners, the second meeting between the two teams in the past 3 seasons. But the injury bug stung once again for the third consecutive year, with quarterback Quinn Ewers now sidelined week to week for what is known as a strained abdomen. Let's see how Texas would take care of business this Saturday. Started things off late in the first quarter, Ewers on 4th and 3 connects with Isaiah Bond across the middle to keep the offensive drive going. It's a risky call from Sark as the team was on its own side of the field, but continuing things on, Ewers delivers a dot over to Jonte Cook, who runs it into the end zone, giving the Horns an early 14-0 lead to conclude the first quarter as they shimmy their way to that lead. Ewers delivering in the pocket, a teardrop to Gunnar Helm, who does his best Ezekiel Elliott impression, hurdling a defender, getting inside the Texas red zone to set them up for another scoring play. As you see here, Ewers limping in pain is handing off there. You see on the bottom of your screen, wincing in pain, calling for a timeout as Ewers collapse in pain at the bottom of the screen, and he heads to the orange medical tent as he would not return in this game. Arch Manning would fill in those shoes as immediately after the injury, Arch Manning comes in, a play fake rolling out to his right and delivers a strike to DeAndre Moore Jr., who puts some more points on the board for the Texas Longhorns to give them a 21-0 lead as Arch loves it. As Arch, the play you've seen all over on Twitter, keeps it on the read option from Wisner and goes all the way down the field, a 67-yard run, puts the pedal to the metal, all gas, no brakes, literally, as he skips into the end zone. The most mobile Manning we've ever seen. As there's another look here, whoop, on the move there, Arch Manning dances to the end zone, putting the Texas Longhorns in front with a massive lead and hits the celly at the end as well, really showing off why he's the swaggiest Manning as well. As an RPO here, screen from Manning over to Isaiah Bond, Mr. 007 takes it all the way to the house on the bubble screen for over 50 yards. Isaiah Bond gives the Horns a 35-7 lead as he fluxes to the crowd. Now Barberger, the backup for UTSA, throws a screen off his own lineman, and it's picked off by defensive end Ethan Burke, who takes it all the way to the house to give the Horns the 56-7 lead, and that would be the final score as that caps off. The Horns win 56-7. They'll host LA Monroe this week at DKR.
Great work, Jackson. This TSTV Sports' Ryan Hopper had the opportunity to cover this past weekend's in-state matchup at DKR. Here's his perspective of this past Saturday's Rowdy Night game.
I'm here at Darrell K. Royal Texas Memorial Stadium, where the Longhorns prevailed 56-7 over the UTSA Roadrunners. However, that is far from the only story tonight. Texas starting quarterback Quinn Ewers would leave the game in the second quarter with a reported abdominal strain. Unclear how much time he'll miss, leaving the keys to the car turned over to the young Arch Manning, who is impeccable in his time here today. He stuffed the stat sheet with 290 total yards and 5 total touchdowns, including a perfect fade to Jonte Cook in the back corner of the end zone and a deep post over the middle to Ryan Wingo for a 75-yard touchdown. But in the second quarter, Manning would shock the world with his athleticism, taking a read option 67 yards to the house, which was the longest rushing touchdown by a Texas quarterback since Vince Young in 2005. After the game, I asked Texas head coach Steve Sarkisian about what Manning's running ability brings to this offense.
Coach, with opposing defenses having to account for Arch more as a runner than, say, Quinn, how much more does that open up for you as an offensive play caller?
Well, it's different, right? It's not something that we've done a ton of here. We did a little bit back in the day, with Hudson when we had him. And so to have that at our disposal, sometimes that can keep people a little bit more honest. But, we're never going to major in that. That's not kind of who we are philosophically as an offense, but we like to have it in our back pocket to keep things honest. And so that we'll probably just kind of stay the course with that.
Texas, now ranked number 1 in the AP poll for the first time since 2008, will face Louisiana Monroe next Saturday in what is expected to be Manning's first career start. I'm Ryan Hopper for TSTV.
Now joining us is fellow Frisco boy Ayan Masud to fill us in on this past Saturday's game against the Roadrunners. Ayan, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, man. I mean, the first night game at DKR was highly anticipated for Longhorn fans, and I think it lived up to the expectations. The drone show, the light show, and it was just electric, and it's always good to see some victory fireworks.
Always good to be a Texas Longhorn fan with a W. The story of the game was Arch Manning's dominant performance. Give us your insight into what you saw out there on Saturday.
Arch was not only dominant, but completely poised in front of over 100,000 fans. The guy was just out there playing ball, and well, it was some pretty good ball.
No joke.
Arch displayed a lot of things on Saturday, including some speed we haven't seen in the Manning family in over a generation. But what truly impressed me was his accuracy. 75% completion rate on the night is incredible. These throws aren't easy to make, and his placement was even better. You look at the simple slant to Matthew Golden, Arch puts it right on top of the face mask.
Yeah.
This is what Arch consistently did all night, which was proof that he can run this offense at a high level. The numbers in the box on this play indicate that the Horns should run the ball as 12 personnel gives them the numbers advantage, but Arch executes an amazing play fake, faking the handoff, dropping back left, turning right, and then hanging in the pocket to deliver a ball. It was just a tiny bit underthrown, but with a rusher in his face and the amazing play fake he executed, Ryan Wingo blows past the defense for the true freshman's first touchdown of the night. His final touchdown of the night looked easier than the first with the same elite placement he had all game. Cook wins his route and Arch places in its spot that Cook can get to. He adds a little bit more air here to make it a harder catch, but makes it harder for the DB to break up.
Yeah, Wingo was balling out there. Over 100 receiving yards for the true freshman. He was really going to work. And from the start of the year, Texas has led up 2 touchdowns through 3 games. What's made this defense so far? I need to talk about the offense. How about this defense?
Well, this defense might be elite, and its depth has shown to be great. I think the defense was the bigger question coming into the year, especially in those trenches, but the Longhorns seem to be way more balanced this year on defense. The play of Clemson transfer Andrew Mbuka has been phenomenal. He already has a TFL and an interception along with other key plays. In each of the Longhorns' 3 games, they had a pick in each, totaling 5 on the season. And the best part, all 5 are coming from different guys. As for plays in the backfield, the most underlooked part from Saturday's game was that the Longhorns had 12 tackles for loss, and just like the interceptions, they were all spread across the defense. A player to key in on, Colin Simmons, the true freshman, has already notched 2 sacks and is emerging as a star. And by the way, at his time at 6A powerhouse Duncanville, he had 44.5 sacks.
Yeah, no joke. Colin Simmons is a dog, D-A-W-G, from Duncanville. And lastly, Ayan, Texas is number 1 for the first time since 2008. I was 2 years old when they were last number 1. What should we expect in the coming weeks from the Longhorns, who have been putting the pedal to the metal?
Well, that's a great question, Jackson. At this point in the season, the entire world knows Texas is a national championship contender.
Good joke.
The next 2 weeks plays out in Texas' favor scheduling-wise. Georgia doesn't play this week, but then they play Alabama, which is a team that people aren't putting in the S tier of teams, which consists of teams of like Georgia, Texas, and Ohio State. I think as the season moves on, people will see that Alabama is in that tier. But expect more names to be called this week against ULM, especially in the run game. We saw Sark be ultra-conservative with Jaden Blue not playing at all and shutting down Trey Wisner a little bit into the game. I expect Jarrett Gibson to run the rock a decent amount this week, but I think this is going to be where Sark puts in Colin Page and Velton Gardner and lets the depth be tested on both sides of the trenches. Like always, the ball will be spread out in the air, whether or not it's Arch or Quinn. The next 2 weeks will give guys great reps and then a well-deserved bye week before the two biggest games of the regular season, the Red River rivalry and the highly anticipated top 2 matchup between Georgia and Texas.
Man, I can't wait for college game day to come out here for that game. That's going to be a once-in-a-generational kind of matchup between potentially two top 2 teams. And thank you so much, Ayan. When we return to College Press Box, Texas women's soccer has been rolling. Jovanny Leon will be joining us right here on College Press Box. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to College Press Box. A week and a half ago, Coach Angela Kelly achieved her 300th career win. And as of last Thursday, her Texas soccer squad has been off to a hot start in 2024. Now at the desk to keep us updated is Jovanny Leon. Jovanny, welcome to the show.
Yeah, it's great to be here. And yeah, it was a big win for the Longhorns to keep their unbeaten streak alive.
Obviously, it was a 3-0 win on the night, but what did you actually make of the game against Houston Christian Thursday night?
To be quite honest, Zach, I thought the Longhorns started the game a little slow, but they were able to pick it up in the second half, and overall, it was a really solid game from Texas. We can see the first goal scored very early on in the game by midfielder Lexi Missimo with a header off of a great cross from the left side. But after that, they went a little bit quiet offensively the first half. However, they still dominated the entire game, not allowing Houston to take any shots in that first half, and only allowing them to take 2 shots in the entire match, with none of them being on target. This made it a really easy night for the keeper, Mia Justice. But yeah, we were able to see some really clear patterns of play in the game with overlapping fullbacks, which created a lot of space for Texas, particularly in that second half, which is where a lot of their chances came from.
So you say it was a very dominant game by Texas. What do you think were Texas' strong points, and if they had weak points in the game?
Yeah, I think there were a lot of strong points from this game. I really like those dangerous crosses they were sending into the box from the wingers, both left and right, and that is exactly what caused all 3 of their goals. We can see from the second goal, it was Amelia Vaerewyck sending a brilliant ball into the box, which was then finished off brilliantly by Holly Ward on the volley. Both of these wingers were delivering some really dangerous crosses into the box, which Houston's defense simply could not deal with. And one of the things I would actually like Texas to do more is shoot from outside the box. They weren't taking many shots from outside the box, and there were times, particularly in the first half, when Texas could not break down the defense. And I think having someone who can shoot from that sort of distance is really important just to keep the opposition defense guessing.
Yeah, I know in soccer, you got to shoot from anywhere, right? Test the goalie, shoot from far out, close, just get shots on goal. Texas have started off their non-conference season undefeated after 8 games, 7 wins, 1 draw. That is impressive in my standards. How do you think Texas can build and improve following this win?
Yeah, it's a crazy good record to start. They've started really well and have moved up the national rankings from 16th to 14th after this win. And like I said, I think it was a really solid performance by them. But I'd like to see them do this against the higher level teams in the SEC. Because no offense to Houston Christian, but they have only won 1 game out of the 7 they've played. And they're a team that Texas could have easily put 5 or 6 goals past them if they had finished off their chances. I think Texas slightly took their foot off the gas after going 2-0 up because Houston was able to get much more possession of the ball due to Texas's weekend pressure, which against a stronger team would be punished. However, that was until Lauren Lepomarda, who also had a great game, by the way, scored a screamer from outside the box to seal the game, which we can see she was very happy about with that celly. And yeah, I think Texas has been playing great so far, and if they continue improving and playing the way they have been, then they can definitely challenge any team they play.
Thank you for that analysis, Jovanny. When we return to College Press Box, BeBe Davis joins us to talk about the roller coaster of the young Texas women's volleyball season. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to College Press Box. After a stunning upset loss against Miami, Texas Volleyball would try to move past defeat this past Wednesday, receiving their national championship rings and this past Sunday. Here to fill us in is BeBe Davis. BeBe, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing great, keeping busy, trying to keep up on all of the Texas sports games. Everyone's really taking off, and seeing recently at the Houston versus Texas women's volleyball game, they were incredible, and Texas took the victory 3-0.
Yeah, I was there, and it was awesome. The atmosphere, Bevo Hack, I mean, the fans in the student section were electric. And I've heard a lot this season about conflict over who should be established as the official setter. BeBe, what's your take on that?
Well, Jackson, throughout the season so far, there's been a switch out of sweat setters, with fans cheering on who they want to be placed as the star setter. Most eyes on Ella Swindle during the game. She was long awaited by fans to be placed as the setter for the games, finally getting a chance to show off and show out this season. Swindle worked well with all of the players, as I think should be expected, and she had 37 assists, was constantly there for her teammates throughout the game. She was all over the court. The team fought hard against Houston and strategically blocked their sets through narrow net space. Madison Skinner swept through championships last year, still on top with a total of 13 kills, 7 digs, and 3 blocks this past game. In past game this season, she's gotten major kills, points, and digs. Nothing gets past her, and Texas fans are excited to see this game and the team make it to the championships for the 16th consecutive year. I'm excited to see them all hopefully make it there.
Yeah, no joke, and head coach Jared Elliott really has those girls cooking. As during the game, it looks like some of the players are having to move around the court more than others, specifically Swindle and Skinner. Why is that?
Well, in many matches, you can tell the opposing players have their eyes on Skinner throughout the game. She's quick, she hits hard, and often the other teams are unable to block from those hits. But they probably follow her from side to side on the court because she's tall enough and able to hit the ball right past them. Swindle was the starting setter in the game, and with how many assists on the court she did, making sure there's no empty space that was left unsupported. She was running almost back and forth during the whole game across the court, getting those assists and those kills, showcasing herself by coming out strong and showing her dominance on that court. Mariana Singletary shines through this game as the middle player and the blocker. She played 23 sets last year for the championships, of course having strong offense and defense ability, proving her as one of the top fearless players on the team. Against Houston, she was able to score 3 kills and get an impressive 7 blocks for the team.
And of course, I have to ask, do you think that this Texas women's volleyball team has a chance to make it back to back to win 3 straight championships?
No doubt. And with the Skinner, Swindle, Singletary, Rutherford, and plenty of star athletes on the team, they have a pretty big shot at making championships this year and possibly even sweeping for victory. Overall, great game, but I think the players need a bit more chemistry on the court, primarily with Lily Barron, the freshman on the team, to make it into a steel wall and keep working together to make sure all the spaces are covered, both on the court and against the net. It'll be so exciting to see how the team develops as the season goes on, and I'm excited to see how they improve.
Really appreciate that, BeBe. When we return to College Press Box, we wrap up the show by taking a look at this past week in Longhorn sports and what is to come for Texas sports. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back into College Press Box. Now let's take a quick look back at this past week in Longhorn sports. Number 8 men's golf placed 3rd at the Folds of Honor Collegiate. The Horns shot 3 over par for a bronze finish, scoring behind Alabama and Illinois. Juniors Christian Maz and Tommy Morrison highlighted the team's scorecard, with Morrison finishing in 5th overall in the field and Maz finishing right behind in 6th. The Longhorns will play their next tournament this Friday, the 20th to the 22nd, at the Fighting Illini Invitational.
Texas Baseball announces their 2025 SEC schedule. The Longhorns will host LSU, Georgia, Auburn, Texas A&M, and Florida in their first season in the SEC. The first weekend of SEC series is March 14th through the 16th, when the Horns and new head coach Jim Schlossnagle head to Mississippi State. The regular season is set to conclude the weekend of May 15th, as the SEC tournament is scheduled for May 20th through the 25th at the Hoover Met.
Number 4 women's golf finished tied for 4th at the Fold of Honor Collegiate. As a squad, Texas shot 19 over par, with the winning score being 4 over by Arizona University. Sophomore Lauren Kim finished 1 under par for a 5th place finish in the individual field. Up next for Texas women's golf, the Longhorns will travel to Franklin, Tennessee this upcoming weekend to try and bounce back at the Mason Rudolph Championship hosted by Vanderbilt. This week in Longhorn sports, on Wednesday, Texas Volleyball will go at Waco, playing Baylor 8 p.m. on ESPN. The next day, Thursday, in Austin, women's soccer taking on Alabama. That'll be 7 p.m. on SEC Network Plus. Friday, 9:20, volleyball versus Hawaii in Austin, 6:30 p.m., also SEC Network Plus. And finally, on Saturday, the number 1 Texas football will take on ULM at 7 p.m. You can find that game on ESPN Plus or SEC Network Plus. That game will be in DKR.
That'll do it for this edition of College Press Box. Make sure to tune in to our other shows this week, including College Crossfire on Wednesday, airing at 9 p.m., and the 1-0 Sports Show on Fridays, now at 11 a.m. Thank you to our analysts, everyone at Master Control, our executive producer, Joseph Duffy, and everyone else at TSTV. I'm Jackson Vaerewyck. He's Zach Davis. Thank you for joining us, and have a good night.